This is Sarah Mikesell with the Cattle Site, and today we're here with Chance Farmer. He is a beef technical manager with Selko. Thanks for being with us today, Chance.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. And today, Chance and I are in San Antonio, Texas, not Washington, D.C., like it might look like behind us. We're at the National Cattlemen's Beef Association meeting called CattleCon, and it is 2025. So thanks again for being with us. And we're going to talk a little bit about a talk that you're going to give, right? So you're going to be speaking at the Cattle Chat at least a couple times. So you're going to be giving a lot of information out to people. And you're sharing research about trace minerals and how more isn't always more when it comes to ROI. In fact, feeding less of a mineral can sometimes generate a better return on investment. Tell us about your research, Chance.
Sure. It really comes down to not just the level of trace minerals you're feeding, but also the source that you're feeding. And really what we're getting at there is the traditional use of sulfates that we've used for years and years to deliver copper, zinc, and manganese to cattle. They serve their purpose for a long time, but we have better sources nowadays like IntelliBond's hydroxy trace minerals that we know actually do a better job at meeting the copper, zinc, and manganese requirements of those cattle. One thing that we've seen in the industry through the years is we've seen the overfeeding of these sulfate-based trace minerals to quote-unquote make sure that we don't have a deficiency in copper, zinc, and manganese. And oftentimes the overfeeding of these sulfate-based trace minerals, we can actually have performance issues more than we are actually helping performance. So what the research really shows us is that when you use a better, higher quality, more available source of copper, zinc, and manganese like the IntelliBond product, you don't have to feed as much as what you do with a lower quality sulfate-based trace minerals. So that's really what we're getting at. And it really plays to the idea that there's a lot of feed tags out there that have what I like to call tag dressing. So they have a lot of copper, a lot of zinc, a lot of manganese that are probably unnecessary for the animal, especially if we're talking about using those lower quality sulfate sources.
Very good. And when you talk about being more available, it's more available in the system,
Yes.
right? In the calf system.
Absolutely. It's more bioavailable. And so what we found with this particular research that we did at Colorado State over a 3-year study through 3 calf crops is that using the higher quality IntelliBond trace minerals actually at a lower level than what we fed the sulfate trace minerals, we've actually improved the copper, zinc, and manganese levels in the liver of those cows. And that is translated to actually higher pregnancy rates, to artificial insemination. And that happens over and over year, and now we're seeing actual weaning weights of those cows on the higher quality mineral like IntelliBond that are better. And it's really a great payoff for cattlemen these days just because of the value of that weight that you can sell.
And the fear in the industry has been, as you said before, I'm not going to get enough, so I need to overfeed.
Right.
And you really have to go back to the research and the data that says this is a product that you don't have to worry about that, right?
That's correct. We have to remember the reason that the copper and zinc and manganese are called trace minerals is because they're needed in trace amounts.
Right.
And so we know that they're very important. They're required by the animal every day. But overfeeding them can actually be setting us back further than actually just feeding the right amount, particularly, again, if you use the sulfate-based trace minerals. Whereas if you'll just use a higher quality trace mineral like the IntelliBond hydroxy trace mineral, you can get by with feeding at requirement. Meet the requirement with a higher quality trace mineral, and you will make more money in the end, for sure.
Very good. And my question, my follow-up question usually is, what does this mean for the producer? But you just answered that question. Really, it's more return on investment, right?
It's more return on investment. If you look at the price of it, your input cost, it may be a little bit higher going in, maybe $2, $3, maybe $4 a cow a year. But the return on investment, at least in this study, has been anywhere from $20 to $30 a cow.
Wow.
And that's, again, just changing the copper, zinc, and manganese level. And that comes, again, and really the improvement in the pregnancy rate to artificial insemination, more cows coming back in a heat earlier has allowed for more cows to get bred earlier in the calving season, which has allowed for heavier weaning weights on those cows on the higher quality trace mineral program.
Very good. And efficiency is the name of the game right now. We don't want to be putting extra product into a calf that doesn't need to be there, or cow.
That's right. Yeah, it's everything costs more now than it used to.
Right.
You know, big surprise. So there's no reason to overspend and spend more than you need to, particularly when it could become problems. You know,
a bigger
from
problem,
a
right?
nutritional standpoint as well. So just use the higher quality source at the right level to meet requirement, and your return on investment will always be as good as it's going to be.
Great. Thank you again, Chance, so much for the information today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
This is Sarah Mikesell with the Cattle Site.